Good evening to you. Hopefully, you're having some luck in doing your research for this class and so on. But the essay that we did called I Want a Wife, I actually find that assignment to be humorous and fun. And sometimes when we do those assignments, I'm rather surprised. And I remember a few years ago that I had this woman in class, and it was an in-class version of this course. And she wrote, I want a husband, and she was interested in a man who was, she would say, a redneck. And, like tractors, like had a pickup truck, wearing an International Harvester or John Deere hat and shirt, chewed snuff and those kind of things. So she was looking for that kind of guy. She liked the quad, she liked to ride a tractor, she liked to fish, she liked hunting and all those sorts of things. And so, that was her idea of an ideal man. And the funniest comment that she had is she didn't want to date or marry a man who took longer to get ready than she did. So I thought, that was rather humorous. Some of the men that I've had for this class have written some interesting ones. More than a few, like women who love sports and that will watch football games all day. And I always think good luck with that one. But anyhow, I've enjoyed reading those, and I was glad that we were able to to complete that assignment. I wanted to review a little bit as far as where we have to go in this particular class as far as where we are. Obviously, you can submit the preliminary bibliography as late as Monday, June 17th. With the quiz, though, it has to be in at midnight, by midnight or before on Friday, June 14th. So there is no extension on that one. For the 21st, you're going to have to write a short essay, and you're going to have to really focus on what some problems in our world. And I asked you, which one area do you think will cause the highest number of problems? Energy shortage and increased energy prices, the environment, nuclear weapons, the collapse of the global economy, or an overall lack of tolerance. So that is one where you eliminate ones that you don't think are likely, and then focus on one that you feel is most likely. So that is what is due. For the Friday the 28th, we have to do a sentence or a topic outline, and that is not so bad to do. I'll get more into that as we get to that. And you have to do conversational styles, a gender difference, how men and how women, communicate differently as far as that goes. And that's a fascinating assignment to do. Even in terms of conversational styles and things like that. I traveled when I was in the military, I was in the U.S. Navy, and we went to Sri Lanka, which is an island right off the coast of India. And what surprised me so much there is the personal space. Americans like to have our personal space or have our space, we'll allow, family members, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, and so on, children, to get really close to you, that's fine. But with people that we deal with in business or, people that you run into in the grocery store and everything, you want to keep them 3 or 4 feet away. When I was in Sri Lanka, people would get like right on top of you, and their view of personal space is your personal space is internal and not external. And so they thought that it was not a problem. They actually, the one man said to me, he said, I like to get close enough to a person to smell their breath, and if their breath is not offensive, then I like them. And I thought, wow, that's a different way to think about it. But other cultures or other customs, or they have other customs and they do things, much differently as far as that goes. For beginning of July, like that July 5th, you're going to have to do a rough draft of your paper, and When we do the rough drafts, what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you actually post those at the discussion board, and then I'll comment, but I'm going to also have other students in the class comment and give their feedback, because I think that's advantageous. Sometimes with these research papers that people do, usually the teacher or maybe a few students in the group will actually get to read it, but I like using the shared knowledge of the group. We do a second quiz on July 12th. That one's much shorter than the first one. The first one's pretty involved. The second one's is much, much shorter as far as that goes. A second draft of the research paper on the 19th of July. And then the final draft is due that Friday, July 26th. And then I'll return it to you, by the Monday. And so if you want to revise it, you can. It gives you enough time to do. And we have one more discussion board posting. So, that's where we are. The point that I would like to really stress to you the most about this class is just not research writing, but it's advanced composition, it's advanced composing. And so that's why we do a variety of different assignments. That's why we do the discussion board and so on, just to raise your writing to another level. If you go to Pitt, if you go to Robert Morris and some other schools, they do what's called writing across the curriculum. So for basically every class that you take, even if you've taken like a principles of management class at Robert Morris, they make you write different types of papers and present different types of documents to be able to write well and speak well and be able to articulate points. Because, if you become an auditor for a company, or if you become for like one of those public accounting firms, you have to be able to explain to people why they're not meeting the standards that are required, where the problems are, where the issues are, and so on. And you have to be able to write that, speak it, and so that's really important. If you go to Pitt, they have a third writing course, which is actually a combination of business communication and advanced composition. So you do research writing, plus you also do business communication. So more schools do that today, but I think schools that put even more emphasis on speaking and writing skills, that's a smart strategy, because in any profession, no matter what you do, you have to be able to speak, write, and articulate what it is you're saying and why it is you are saying that. I also wanted to mention for this particular class, and I've said this before, when you do the research paper, you don't necessarily have to make it like all text. What I would encourage you to do, what I really like to see, is at the beginning is a listing of the topics or main sections you're going to be covering, and then you can use headings, like bolded headings, in the body of the research paper. You can even use subheadings, because some years back, we were doing different topics then, but I had a student in class that wrote about serial killers, and there were like stages of being a serial killer, and what she pointed out first is the early stages, and typically what they start out doing is killing their own pets or pets in the neighborhood, and then they go to another level and then another level after that. And it was really, really fascinating kind of going through the different levels. I've also had papers on people who are hoarders, and there are different types of hoarders as far as that goes, and I found that to be rather fascinating. But anyhow, using headings helps. If you can, when you do the final draft of your paper, if you can incorporate some pictures or visuals, that helps significantly. If you want to use data, if you want to use a graph or chart, you can actually copy them. If you put them in your paper, though, underneath the information, you have to indicate where you got it from. If you want to, put your own data in and use a spreadsheet, through Excel, you can create a data, a chart, a graph, and so on. And, that's always something you can do. I had one very recently that I saw on the number of people between ages 40 and 50 in Westmoreland County that are dying from prescription drug overdoses. You would think like it would be people between, say, 18 and 30, but actually the highest percentage was between the people between 40 and 50 and in that vicinity. And what they were finding is that some people were actually taking combining prescription type medications, which I believe killed Anna Nicole Smith, might have done for that Whitney Houston and some others. So those are really really major factors as far as that goes. So you can use, like I said, you can use graphs or charts, and then pictures or visuals. You can do that. What I've had some people do as well is you can include clips from YouTube or other sites, or if you have your own video that you want to include, you can put the URL, the link in there, and you can do that. I was at a conference a couple years ago, and there was a professor who taught at a community college down in Florida, and they have students in these advanced composition classes write a large number of words. I don't know if it was like 15,000 words, but you're talking about 35 or 40 pages. But he had students do 3 different types of research documents. In the last one that he had them do, though, he required them to do more visuals, more videos, and so on. It was more of a multimedia research paper, and he said they're really fascinating and engaging to look at. And he actually showed one to the group that I was in, and they focused on different types of eating disorders, but it focused on eating disorders that younger men have. And I didn't think of that, but of course wrestlers and gymnasts and people that are in certain areas, have these types of eating disorders. But the student actually, did videos and went to self-help groups and, had some graphs and charts and so on. It was really, he said it was, I saw it was a really, really good paper. So, that's an option as far as that goes. The paper for this class is 12 to 15 pages with the same number of sources. You can definitely go over that if you like. I don't count the words, but that's, basically where we are. But for your first draft, at least when we do that in July, I want to make sure that you are getting started, you're finding some pretty good sources, and, you're moving forward with them. With the paper for this class, you only need to include a works cited page. And those would be the sources that you actually used in the paper alphabetically. Now, some professors will require to use what's called works consulted. And what that is sources that you consulted in writing the paper as well. So some people require you to do that. I don't require you to do that for this class. For this course as well, I don't care if you use ezbib.com or one of those citation generators. I went to school from 2007. I went back to school from 2007 to 2010. I had to use the MLA and the APA format, and that's what I did because it's complicated. Sources are much more involved today. You're using blogs and websites, or you're having like something from a website that was gotten from another source. And so it's just much easier to use one of these citation generators, as far as that goes. In this particular class, I want to make sure when I read your final draft of your paper that the sources you have listed on a works cited page are actually in the paper itself. I don't want to find, that they're not matching up, but I certainly don't go through every single line and say this isn't cited correctly, this isn't documented correctly. I don't cut the fine line on you. I want you to be able to write and express, your thesis and develop it, and without being nickel and dime on the finer points. If you ever go to school and go to school for a master's degree, or if you ever go for a doctorate, obviously, if you have a good advisor that'll help you, that makes a difference. But if you have to do that and you have to submit, like a thesis or dissertation or longer document, pay someone to write, not to write it, but pay someone to type it for you because they know the formatting and so on. When I went to San Diego State University, I did a thesis on for teaching and writing, okay? And it was 110 or 115 pages long. There was a lady that was a typist that used to work for the university editing service. I paid her $450. I made like $7,000 a year then. I was really poor. It was the best money I've ever spent. So pay a professional to type that. And the same thing too, you can create your first resume by yourself or with career services. But once you get to your second or third job, get a professional editor and writer to do it. It's a couple $100, but it's the best money you ever spent. All right, that's it. Thank you.